Welcome to the Build on Beauty podcast, where beauty is born skin deep. Now, here's your host, author, speaker, entrepreneur, Cornell Jermaine.
Welcome to the Build on Beauty podcast. I'm excited to have a very special guest with me. She is no stranger to the show, having joined us about 3 years ago for episode 51, where we discussed embracing entrepreneurship. Since then, she's been committed to inspiring, motivating, and educating people on changing their financial futures and destiny. Our guest is a speaker, real estate advisor, coach, and the creator of the Traci Lynn brands. One of my favorite women in business, I must say. Please help me welcome this woman making history, Dr. Traci Lynn. Dr. Lynn, welcome to the show again.
Woo! Good to be here again.
Yes, I'm so excited to talk to you. You always give such great wisdom. You've been inspiring and motivating people in business and beyond for many years now. So I'm excited to catch up, see what's going on with you, and also get some of that great wisdom that you always give. So as stated, we had you back here on, I think, episode 51 about embracing entrepreneurship. And we talked about your story, how you started in business, having grown up with your grandmother who groomed you for entrepreneurship and business, started counting money at the age of 4.
You remember, that's it.
Yes. And went from there to selling clothes and jewelry, I think you did hair for a while. So you've had great experience in business. But then one day you look up, and I think you said you were about 20 some, maybe 28 years old, and you were a millionaire all of a sudden.
Yeah, actually I was 25, turning 26. Yeah. I was 25 when I first made my $1 million. Yeah, wow. I was actually 25.
So I want to pick up our conversation. And for those that want to know the backstory, I'm sure Dr. Lynn may tap into some of that here, but she really goes into the detail about that in our other episode. But I want to pick up there because this episode, I want to talk about business insights and making millions, as what it really takes as a business owner and a business entity. So first, let's start with this first $1 million that you made. I have to ask, when you saw that $1 million, what went through your mind?
At that point, I didn't know anybody else who had made it. So the first thing that went through my mind was, oh my gosh, I'm a millionaire. And that was good. And then that was bad, because once I made the money, I forgot the principle. You got to keep doing what you did before, and then also be willing to pivot into something different. Keep elevating, keep growing. Well, I stopped. I got comfortable. I spent that money up. So by the time I was 27, 28, I didn't have it anymore. I lost that. And another thing for me, so it makes it, I know people come and it's easy to talk about the money and the millions, but it has taken me up until this point in my life to get really comfortable in talking about the money, because I think what happened to me was that I started believing even my own press with money. I started believing just some craziness in my own head, and I lost it all. So I had to rebuild, but I had to rebuild, and I was happy about the rebuild because it led me to really understanding what needed to happen and who I needed to be as a person. Now that's deep. That's the part we don't want to get into, but if you can learn that early, then you'll have a life of the millions down the road when you learn how to handle it early.
So good. Looking back at that time, you talked about doing what you did to get the millions, having to keep doing that. What did you do? What was it that you did that led you to this millionaire status?
What I did was something that people need to do more of. We need to focus on the things that we do good, that are natural to us, just straight up a gift, something that, we got to work to really figure it out and hone it in, but knowing how to naturally do something like fashion. I grew up at 4 years old selling accessories, selling clothes with my grandmother. So I stayed in that lane, and I always had a desire, don't know why, but I understood the principle of having many people working with you to get you to the goal. So I understood that principle as well, having a vast majority of people helping me get there. So that was important. So I had a sales force. That's how I got there. I couldn't do it by myself.
Yeah. You said the gifting, and I want to dig into that a little bit, because so many people have different ideas of what the gifting is. Some of it think, oh, I'm just a good hairstylist, or I can do makeup really good, or I can cook really good. But it seems to me that sometimes the gifting can even go beyond the talent. Talk a little bit more about that gifting and how people can really identify it.
Yeah. So even with me, I went to makeup school. I went to hair school, as you know, and I'm talking about I went to makeup school like 3 years ago, and I didn't do it to do makeup. I did it as a part of learning the beauty trade. I was making some beauty products, and I just wanted to understand everything from A to Z. But the gifting, the real gifting that we have goes beyond, because you tap into even knowing how to do things that you ain't never studied to know. And you just get it. I just understood how to develop a sales force. Can you imagine that in my 20s? Who taught me that? And then I read a book on Mary Kay, and I was able to take the principles that she had hidden in the book, and they just spoke out to me and duplicated with nothing else, reading a book for $10. Because that was a part of the gift. There was a grace on me to do it, and I did it.
Wow. So good. So good. So the gifting can even go beyond just your skill set. I want listeners to really catch that. Obviously, as we look at Dr. Lynn's life and what she's been able to do, would you say you had a gifting in leadership?
I had a gifting in leadership. I call myself the Pied Piper. Absolutely. I can get people to joyfully follow me. So a true leader is one that people follow you, not because they have to, but because they want to. And I didn't realize that was a gift, that was a skill. And then you put the business acumen on top of it. I understood business. And then with business, the leadership to get all the people involved. And then the fashion piece that I didn't even really know I had. My grandmother had it. I didn't know I had it. And then come to find out, my father, I didn't grow up with him, but he sold jewelry. He made jewelry. Wow. And he was a vendor, but he was his version of a businessman out there getting it done. And I never grew up with him, so I didn't learn that from him. But I'm sure some of that gifting from what he was doing, my grandmother, it just all came into play. And I operated in my gift, which is in my lane. I didn't try to look over here, because people told me you can't make no money selling jewelry. And I was 25 going on 26, and I had made $1 million. I could make money. And that's one thing I did realize that was good, that if I continue to do the thing that I enjoy, that I'm gifted at, that I can't explain to you how I know all these things, if I stick in that lane, I'm going to see some profit. In the beginning, some things fail, and they did. I had 3 iterations before I ever got to the Traci Lynn that people really know about.
Yeah, you mentioned that, and I'm glad you did, because I wanted to ask this question as it pertains to this gift of leadership and having this now skill set to see beauty and fashion and put things together. What was the first step to begin this sales force? Because many people, they obviously looking at you, they're like, okay, she makes it look so easy, but what is the first step to gather people that want to take the vision and run with it?
Well, because they're not trying to take your vision and run with it. You got to sell them on how they fit into the vision. What's in it for them? Why should they do it? And that's what I was good at. I was good at selling them their why before they even knew what their why was. I sold them, if you do this, not thinking about my vision, but focus on yours. What do you need extra money for? I can help you get that. I answered the question. I solved the problem. That's how I got them. Not selling them on my bigger vision. I enrolled them into the bigger vision later, but I sold them on what it could do for them now.
And share with us. I know you probably got tons of success stories, but does one come to mind when you think of all the sales consultants? And I mean, you guys, I mean thousands, tens of thousands of people globally. Does any one or two story come to mind of the success that you've seen with some of your salespeople?
Well, I've seen some great success, and I've seen some people in the sales force try to ruin everything. So
Wow.
we want to talk about that. But listen, what we got to do is get through the mindset of those who don't want you to go there, even if you're helping them, because they can't focus on what they're getting. They want to focus on what you're getting. So yeah, I got those stories too. And even before that story, there was a woman who really had low self-esteem. And I remember her always trying to encourage her. She would hardly even look up at me. And then after coming in and I started doing these monthly motivational meetings, I didn't even know what I was doing. That's what Mary Kay said she was doing. So I'm up there doing it, not even realizing I could speak, but I'm up there. And it was motivating the women. Next thing you know, she started looking me in my eye. Next thing you know, she started wearing more jewelry, putting on some makeup. And then she got a raise on her job. Now, eventually, I remember when I stopped doing the first iteration of the jewelry business, she stopped, but she became a big manager on her job because she said that I helped her believe in herself. She had lost herself and she found herself again.
So beautiful.
I've got many of those stories, and I even call them my alumni, my Traci Lynn alumni, because the alums, they have gone on and done other businesses. They've done great things on their job. One of them went back to school to become a physician. I've had dentists. I mean, such other entrepreneurs selling clothing, just because someone spoke life into them and showed them how to do it and showed them the right way to do it. You don't have to step on anybody. You don't have to back talk anybody. You don't have to be fighting with folks. You don't have to go toe to toe. You just keep being, and the people will always be my defense.
Wow. You talked about stepping on folks to get ahead. Let's just share a little bit about how to handle the people on the other end of the spectrum, the ones that they're part of the sales force and they're a part of the team, but they really don't want to see you win, or they're trying to use you to win for themselves. How do you handle that kind of situation?
Well, one thing I know, we talked about the gifts. Your gifts will take you places that your character won't keep you. Your gifts can open doors, but your character will kick you out. And what I've learned about people, they will eventually show who they are. But I've had many specific, I just finished my book yesterday. So I was just writing in the book about some specific instances. I remember one lady, when I had it in the house and I had renovated my whole house, she was making a lot of money, but she couldn't get past that. I had a new kitchen, because I was doing everything out the house then. I learned personally, I wouldn't do that again, but I did. And she was on the porch telling everybody how to get out the business. And I shut my business down. And looking back, I shut it down, not because it was failing, but because I let the naysayers, I let her negativity get inside of me. And it was eating me up. Now you're going to have naysayers, you're going to have negativity. The key is not to let it inside. It's a storm. You don't have to let the storms in. I live in Florida. It's hurricane season. We got hurricane doors, impact windows. Keep the storm out. It's going to be there. Don't let it on the inside. Once you let it on the inside, they didn't take my dream. I gave it to them.
Wow. So good. We talked about the gifting in business, but let's talk about investing. You mentioned even going back to school, even just recently.
Yeah.
How important is investing when it comes to trying to get to that success status in business?
Like investing in yourself?
Investing financially, whether it be putting your own money up and investing in yourself.
So let's talk about that, because people don't. I meet so many women and people who want to be entrepreneurs. And the first thing I want to know is, what have you saved to put towards this? Well, no, I want to get a grant. I heard that so-and-so got a grant. I want to get some of that. What was the money? The PPP.
Yeah.
How do I get some of that free money? I need an angel investor. Well, if you ain't invested nothing in yourself, and you ain't putting nothing in it, and you have no skin in the game, what angel you gonna get? You have to wait to heaven and see your real angel, because nobody's investing in what you're not even willing to put yourself in.
Yeah.
People don't want to invest anymore. People ask me all the time, I need you to be a mentor. I need you to be a mentor. Then I tell them to do a few things, or what are they willing to? Oh, nah, I don't want that. No, I'm not. No, I ain't paying for that. Oh, no, I ain't coming to that course. Ooh, no, then what do you want? It's going to take that. I am not one. I will never tell you, you can work 3 hours a week and, you buy into this program, you work 3 hours a week and you're going to be a millionaire. If that was the case, everybody be rich. Yeah. Everybody would be a millionaire if it was that easy. But it's not. It's going to take some sweat equity. It's going to take some sacrifices. You're going to walk away from some people. You're going to see the true colors of the negativity that's going to surround you. So, and then you're going to have voices. You're going to have a storm come to your door and knock to get in. You're going to have to decide, are you going to give up your dream? You're going to let somebody else take it? All of this. So your mind, and if you ain't got no skin in the game, you ain't got your mind in the game, people are going to talk you out of it every time.
Talk about that whole process when it comes to getting maybe investors or people that are interested. What attracts those kind of people to a business opportunity?
The funniest thing, and Cornell, I'll tell you, I've had so many people wanting to invest in my business that I never even asked to invest. And my answer was no, because I understood what they wanted. I know they wanted a piece of that pie. I had bootstrapped that thing. I built that thing with $200 and a whole lot of hard work, and I wasn't giving it up. So I wasn't letting anybody in until I was ready to sell it. People came to me all the time. That's when I knew I had something. That's when I knew I had something sellable. And then sometimes in the community, we don't want to sell it because then we don't want to be a sellout. Or because our identity is attached to that thing. And if we sell that, what do we have left? People say, but you're not Traci Lynn anymore. I am Traci. I was born Traci Lynn. Lynn is my middle name. I'm always going to be me. But I had to give myself permission to continue to be the very best version of myself, because people will hold you right where they left you. And then you can hold yourself there, because if you had great success somewhere, then you start to think, well, I have it again. Then you got to think, I built up this business. Do I just walk away or do I sell it? You better sell that thing and then move on to whatever is next. But then we say, okay, legacy. I have a son, legacy. He don't want to do nothing with jewelry. That's the furthest thing. Well, who's going to get the legacy? Somebody going to buy it, chop it up, and they're probably going to chop it up and do whatever they want to do anyway. So we got to be thinking about, if you really come up with a concept that's not just a million, but millions upon millions and even a million, how do you capitalize on it when the season is up? When there is no more gift on you to do it, when the grace to do what was the gift, because it moves. God is not stagnant. It's dynamic. God is the movement of the gift is dynamic. It's not static. It keeps moving, but we get static and we don't keep up.
So good. So good. When it comes to that moment of moving on, how is there something that you just innately know in your spirit? Like for you, did you know, like in your spirit, okay, this is I have no more to offer this? Like, was there a moment that something that occurred, or what happened for you in that?
I got frustrated with the people, and I knew in me the things that didn't bother me because I had overcome them started to bother me, but I could see the writing on the wall because I looked at my numbers. And I stood in Vegas on a stage looking at over 2,000 screaming, cheering women. And it was one of the best conventions I had ever had. And I stood there. I was dripped in bling. I was blinging from my head to my toes to my shoes. And I couldn't even walk in them shoes. But I was at Caesar's Palace doing an event. Can you imagine 2,000 women at Caesar's Palace? And I stood on that stage and I knew in my gut that it was over. To this day, that's their favorite convention. And to everybody else, it looked like, come on, we were making tens of millions of dollars. It looked like, but I knew the truth. And I didn't want to face it, but I did. Reluctantly. I understood the life cycles of a business. I understood what I needed to do next. Didn't say I wanted to, didn't say I agreed with it because it was so tied up. I mean, my business is my name. So it's an extra tie in there. But I knew if I wanted to get out and be able to profit, I was going to have to start maybe even talking to all the people who've been knocking on my door for years to invest or buy.
Wow. What was it like handling the consultants? Because many of them have become like family and they look to you as their leader. How was it handling them in this transition?
It was not an easy transition. It's still not even easy for me to even talk it through. I can write it better than I can talk it, only because I mourned it for so long. So I'm just coming out of that because I had such love for the people. And one of the things I would say to anyone listening, even in that, make sure you put your love in the right place, because, trying to love some unlovables is a hard thing. Yes, indeed, it is. And so you really have to have a grace to do it. And Madam C.J. Walker, who I know you know, Madam C.J. Walker, 100 years before me, and then it's been me. We're the only two that's had a direct selling company.
Wow.
A receipt-based, documented company. Madam Walker with her consultants, and I'm not just talking about in the beauty space, I'm talking about with a sales force. Madam Walker and myself, the only two women in 100 years.
Wow.
So even I read her book and I had her niece come and talk to my group. So moving them. So when I shut those doors, people didn't know what to do. They didn't know where to go. And I started, and then COVID happened. So I started up a small jewelry company. We did $2.5 million for a couple of years. So, I mean, that was small to me, right? I say that, but we did like $2.5 million our first year and then our second year, but we only existed during COVID. And it was because I had too many displaced people. And because I didn't have to sell my name. I own my name. I own all my trademarks. I own all my patents. I still kept them because I put them in my own name. So I didn't have to sell that part of the business. But there's lists that have to be sold and certain other business principles that I had to sell. So I couldn't do the catalog, but I just did like a cash and carry. I just showed the items, put them online, let them cash and carry it. And the very first year we did 2.5 million, second year, 2.5 million. And then COVID was over and it was over. That was it. That was why I did it. I couldn't let go either.
Wow. You talked about something so key, and I think it's something that we don't think about, especially in our community when it comes to business. And you said ownership, owning your name, your trademarks. Talk to us about why that is so important if we're going to see success, and how do we even go about doing it?
Well, I'll tell you why it's so important, because I own my name as a trademark. And there was a time that I had my name on my bags and I had a logo made, but I didn't trademark the logo. So when my bags were imported in from China, the what are the people that get your merchandise?
That at the borders.
So when it came in at the port, and as soon as we start talking, we're gonna get it. But as soon as it came in at the port, it was held up because they said the diamond belonged to somebody else, and it was just an emblem that I had hanging, even though they saw my name was trademarked, but this diamond wasn't, and they thought all the bags were counterfeit. So they held it. We had to get in touch with the man who had the trademark for the diamond, get his permission in writing and pay him and submit a letter. And all of this was 6 months. So it was held in customs for 6 months and they charged me $10,000. And I missed the whole season, the color that the bags were. And from that, I went on a whole new mission. I got permission from the man to trademark that myself with my name around it. So I trademarked it. My name was already trademarked. I trademarked the diamond, and then I began to patent, because that way I would have proof positive that I owned it. So it takes about a couple of years per patent, 2-3 years. But I have 30 patents and 33 trademarks. And there was another situation that I found my bags were being sold in TJ Maxx and Marshalls, and I didn't sell it to them and had my name on it and everything. I was able to find out which one of my factories, because they have non-competes. But I go further than that. I don't just have a non-compete. I have a Chinese attorney. So I have trademarks even over there. And then I had a Chinese attorney who worked with my US attorney. And when we found out who it was, he alerted the China officials. They were penalized, lost their company. And I was able to cease and desist his cousin on our side in the United States, who sold it to Marshalls and TJ Maxx. I ain't mess with them. They got long money. But I messed with the little guy who sold it to him. I ceased and desist him and was able to do it only because, not of a trademark, because I own the patent.
Let me tell y'all something. I'm listening to this story and I'm like, oh my God, doing business on that level is it's more than what people really even imagine. People couldn't even fathom having their product in customs for 6 months, having to take 10 grand, pay somebody. I'm gonna let you.
Whole ordeal, just that ordeal between getting an attorney, getting my product, that was $20,000, because I had to pay the attorney to keep talking to him. I had to pay customs, so it was a $20,000, and then pay the man to let me use the diamond that didn't have anything to do with my bags. So it was a $20,000 ordeal, and I missed the season. So it was $20,000, and my product cost me $40,000. So it was a $60,000 loss. That I had to wait a whole nother year to sell it again. And you're not even talking about the fact that I advertised it in a catalog that had a 6-month life. So I had to wait another year to even bring it back in the catalog.
Wow. I'm wondering, because I know sometimes, especially in our creative spaces, we create and do things, and sometimes we just put it out there and we're not thinking about, okay, this might belong to somebody, or maybe somebody else came up with this or has a patent. Do you think some of that was because of the mass amount of money you were making as a company? Like, do you think if maybe you were just ordering a couple bags, they probably wouldn't even have an issue?
Well, I think it was the sheer mass of bags. I mean, I bring in my own containers, so I have my own bonds. I have my own people. I bring in containers. I think for what I do, you can't bring in a few because they're custom made. So you have minimum MOQs, a minimum order quantity. So that's the first thing. And I've been doing it for years. And now this may be hard for some people to understand. What happened to me at that time that it happened to me, I'm glad it did. Why? It made me run towards patents, because the other situation hadn't happened yet. You get that big and you don't think people are watching, and you don't have all your stuff together, you're going to be in trouble in the long run. I'm glad it happened early, because by the time we got real big, I was lawyered up, I was patented up, I was trademarked up, and knew how to move and shut everything down instantly. I always had to have 5 attorneys plus the one in China, 6 on retainer. Wow. And I had to keep $5,000 in the retainer fee in the fund. And if it went below 5, I don't care what they did. It could have cost $50. You had to put $50 back in to bring it back. I have 5. All had different specialties.
Wow. You talked about having those 5 attorneys. Talk to us about how who should be on our team? We hear people talk about having a board of directors or people that are in your corner helping you do business. You mentioned attorneys. Who else should we be having on our team to help us do business successfully?
You need a really good accountant. You need somebody, not just the bookkeeper, but accounting team. I've had quite a few bad ones and I've had some great ones. And that right there is key. I had one, she was so nervous about, oh my God, we're not gonna make no money. Oh, the sky is falling. Should we jump down? She was just a mess. And I remember talking to her and she said, you know what? If you don't think I'm a good fit, I understand. I said, you're not a good fit. So I'm glad you understand. She said, it's just that I am risk adverse. So if you are risk adverse, ain't no way you're going to be an entrepreneur. Because sometimes we fly by a string and get her done, you know? So I don't want to dissuade the little bootstrappers out there. You better go ahead and bootstrap it. However, when you start seeing some real money, and even before, when you first get your first $500, you need to look up your name that you out there publicizing. You can look that up before to see if somebody else is using it before they cease and desist you. I had a tagline on my website that some girl was doing my website and saw it, copied it from another company, jewelry company, and I was using, they cease and desist me. That's when I said, oh, this is the game. Right. All right. Didn't cost me nothing. I had to take the little tagline off, and then I trademarked 33 taglines. So, come on. Sometimes you get a little, and I'm one, when it comes to me like that, I'm like, what is the lesson in this? Okay. I didn't see that. Didn't know that. And then I went, the biggest thing I did in terms of who should be on your team, I joined associations that do what I do. Why did I do that? Because it helped collapse my learning curve. In the creative space, that's why I'm going into coaching now, because I want to help collapse the curve. People don't know what they don't know, what they shouldn't have, or should have. But I joined the Direct Selling Association. They told me who should be in my team. They told me if you're looking for a board of directors and when you should get one and when you shouldn't, who should be on it, who you should be listening to. Because I listened to some people who ain't know what in the world they were talking to. And so you could ask me, making, the money that we've made, did I have one? I did not. Because it was hard for people to really see what I was doing. It didn't always make sense on paper at first, because I had a volunteer sales force. Who does that make sense to? They weren't being paid, and you were expecting them to go out and you're going to do $20 million in that year? How's that possible? It is possible. It can be done. So I really think you need to know the type of business and who. So in today's time, I would have other top direct selling people who are retired to help me, because they get that. So you got to make sure vision is lined up.
You definitely have reinvented yourself many times in business. Yeah. If we look back even to the 4-year-old little girl who then became a associate with selling clothes and jewelry and a hairdresser. Talk to us about reinvention and why that's important in business. Many people, like you say, they get a business that's going well, they're doing their thing, and they're like, this is good, I'm holding on to it, and then they let the business die, you know what I mean, while they're trying to hold on for dear life. Talk to us about the process of reinvention and knowing where and how to pivot.
Well, the key is you want to pivot when you start seeing small signs. You don't want to pivot when you got a hole in the boat, because once you see a leak, you can fix a leak. A hole, you might have to scrap the whole thing. And people wait until there's a hole, even though they saw the leak. They ignored it. They saw another leak. They ignored it. So you got to know, okay, something is shifting. Let me analyze every part of the business. Okay, is it for me? Styles are shifting. Okay, so fashion is shifting. Okay, price points are shifting. I had to take a look at that. I would always, every month, what are my top sellers and what's the price point? So I would come out with a catalog, 150 pieces, say 200 pieces every 6 months. Well, 150 of them were the same pieces that I had for 10 years. People wouldn't let them go. I wanted them to try the new 150 pieces. They didn't want it. So I made more money on the evergreens. So I gave it a cute name. Okay, y'all want to keep the same thing? We'll call it the evergreens. The evergreens, one year, I just remixed all the evergreens. And it was one of my top selling catalogs. I understood that. So when jewelry started changing on a global scale, I saw the signs even before we started having problems with supply chains. I started seeing what the department stores were selling, because they even got into some of the statement pieces. Then they started going to all this little tiny, teeny stuff. So I started introducing like a delicate collection, and then that took off. But it didn't take off the way my statement pieces took off. Everybody loved these, but they weren't buying them anymore. So some people live and die by what it used to be. And you got to be able to take a hard look and listen to this, not take it personal. Ain't got nothing to do with you, your business acumen. It's the way that the tastes are going. People are not wearing the same clothes from the 60s. Yes, style repeats itself, but it's got to take some years to do it. And you ain't going to be sitting there. You won't make it, waiting for it to come back. You got to reinvent and be comfortable enough with yourself to reinvent and keep the naysayers out.
Talk about that on the flip side, though, because sometimes you have people who are successful and the business is well, but there's a leak in their soul. They don't love it anymore. It doesn't fulfill them anymore. Talk to us about that. How do you handle that when the business is good, but you feel stuck because what else am I going to do? Or this is making me money, so why leave it? But it doesn't fulfill you. How do you handle that?
It's time to sell it. If it doesn't fulfill you and it's profitable, it's like being on a job that you hate. It's like being on a job that Monday comes and you're sick. Then it's time to sell it and move on. I had leaks in my soul in the last few years of the business. And I knew it because I wanted to set it off and set everybody straight. And I had gotten out of that. I had been clean on setting it off. I'm from Detroit all day. So I had been cleared and I had gotten healed and delivered. So when that thing came back, I said, okay, not only do I know it's the end, but it's no fulfillment for me anymore. And that's the time to look to see, is selling it an option and taking your ego off the table. That is not all you are. That is not all you can do. There is so much in you. You did that. Now, what else can you do? Because now I always had a big goal of how much I could make, and I hadn't gotten to that number. So I'm still young, vibrant. I'm going to get there. I see a path forward, and I'm enjoying this part of the journey. And since I let all that go, sold it, moved on, even the 2-year business, I was even able to sell some part of that business, the one that I just did for 2 years. I got that. Let me tell you something. I am so happy. I cannot. I'm walking in the store. This man said to me, why are you smiling so hard? I said, because I'm happy in my soul. I said, aren't you happy seeing me happy? He said, I sure am, because I'm happy now. I am happy to the root of my soul. I am. And I'm happy also because I did right and I got some money. So I'm happy in my soul and happy in my life. Yes, Lord. Yes.
So good. So good. We talked about your gifting and we talked about investing and also reinventing yourself. Let's talk about partnerships and how we're seeing a lot of collaborations, even in corporate, big corporate structures, like you're seeing Taco Bell and Dairy Queens together, Wendy's and Tim Hortons. Talk about partnership collaborations and what that has maybe done for you and how people can really approach that for their business.
So a partnership, and you have to approach it. When you name all the major brands, they approach it from the legal standpoint. They come in from the financial and protect it on the legal. Same way with us. Is there a financial benefit of joining together. We both do something different, but you make up a component that I don't have. I make up a component you don't have, and we can be explosive together. Financial. Now y'all better go get some legal, because you got to make sure that you can work with that person, that you share the same visions and dreams. I've heard so many partnership nightmares. I heard people buying the other part. I've heard sisters. I know of a company. They were doing millions of dollars a year, and they were sisters and could not get along in business. So they had to separate. And one sister had to go get a loan to pay off the other sister, her millions, because it's based on, not just the money today. It's also based on the future earnings. Because, you watch Shark Tank, that's all they talk about. Where'd you get that evaluation from? Where's that? Because it's also based on the future, but it's also rooted in the present. Partnerships for me, no, I'm not a solopreneur by any stretch of the imagination. I am a big corporation, but I never found that partnership for me. Now, in this new iteration of me, I'm finding some people who are good at marketing, and now I'm bringing them on board, more of a collaboration and a percentage of what I'm doing. So I am doing a little bit of that with the agreement legal. Look, I'm a bootleg attorney all day with the legal piece that I can get out when I want to. And one thing I want to say to the people, because I'm really exploring this, I did a study on butterflies. We don't have the time to really dig into it, but there is a process. There is a cocoon process. So even if someone is reinventing or starting, when you're in that dark space of becoming, be very careful about who you let in, because predators always come to find you when you are in that dark, unknown space. Careful.
And probably because they see the potential, but you don't really see it.
Exactly. And they want to come to either talk you out or take from you, because you don't even know. I gave so much away because I didn't even know my own value.
Wow.
And I didn't know it. So I gave it away in that space of becoming. Very careful. Be very careful.
So good. So good. Well, we got to talk about, because not only are you a coach, a business professional, but you're also a real estate advisor.
Yeah.
So talk to us about this real estate game and what your role is. Do you buy and flip, buy and rent, or what's your strategy in real estate?
Well, my strategy there, that's my long-term wealth building strategy for my son, who is 18. He wants to now get into real estate. See, that's something we can do. So back in the summer, I decided that, you know what? I sold a home, and I said, the agent said to me, you are really good at this, because everything they needed, I already did it. I understood it. I got it. And I always knew in the back of my head that one day I want to do real estate. And so, of course, what was I doing but having a good time and enjoying my life? I decided to go to real estate school. I did it was a 1 week course. It was 1 week, Monday through Sunday from 9 to 6. And 2 weeks later, I took the test and I passed it on the first time.
Wow.
So, and that's not an easy test. That's why I say that, because I know a lot of people who've taken it 3 times, and I ain't mad at it, because I worked hard. I went to a cram class. I did everything to really understand it. So my role, so I am a licensed agent. So I do buy and sell and flip. Right now, the market especially in South Florida, it's hard to get property. So we can make more money on the flip instead of trying to hold it for rent. Once I do a few more flips and really get that, then I'll look at the rental. I'll get like a triplex, small apartment. That's where I'm going. And also I sell like luxury real estate, multi-million-dollar properties. I know that market extremely well in South Florida, especially in Fort Lauderdale area. That's my area. So I'm with an agency there to actually list and sell homes too.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the book and that you just finished it. When can we expect it?
I'm doing an event in Fort Lauderdale in about 3 weeks, and I'm gonna have the book there. It'll be out in 3 weeks.
Awesome.
So they can email me at Traci Lynn at Be Iconic. Make sure you put that out for me, beiconicnow.com.
Mm-hmm.
I have a new assistant, so she's getting it tight. She's on the ball. So hiring a few new people, and I've got an amazing book team. We're designing the cover right now, so we have the shop, and we're doing that. So everybody can follow me on social too, at Dr. Traci Lynn, TraciLynn, Instagram and Facebook. I took 2 years off of Instagram and Facebook. 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah. I had nothing to give. I needed a minute. I had to deal with the business. I had to decide on selling. I had to, and shutting all that down and selling it. Then COVID and starting up the new business. I just had nothing else I thought I had extra to give. So I've just been back on for a few months, but I'm in it.
Yes, in it to win it.
I'm in it to win it. Yeah, I'm in it. Because I want to reach the people now. I want to help. I want to leave a part of the legacy, not just for my family, but people can look back and say, it was her words. It's what she accomplished and what she was willing to share with me that really made the difference. So
we're in this Women's History Month, and you mentioned people like Miss Madam C.J. Walker and yourself being historical figures when it comes to the sales marketing industry. But tell me, who else is your, some iconic women in history that you look up to in business?
Yeah, and it's funny. That's my book, is Be Iconic Now. Don't wait. Iconic status doesn't just hit you. It's because of the body of work. And so you got to decide early, I'm going to have a body of work. So just like you said, iconic women. People say, oh, you're icon. Well, it was a body of work. And I decided, I told my sales force, we're making history. Now, half of them didn't believe it, but at the end of the day, we made history. In 100 years, there's been nobody else but us. We made history. Oprah Winfrey made history. There are so many women like that. I loved Maya Angelou. She told the truth. I love her. I love what Oprah is doing. I just admire so many women who are out there, go-getters. And I admire Gayle King. You know why I admire Gayle? She had no problem of Oprah being Oprah, and she was Gayle. And being Gayle has profited her. So many times I meet women, they don't want to just be them. They want to be Traci Lynn.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a salute to women knowing how to just be your friend and let you shine and be who you are and not trying to compete with that. And Gayle, like you said, has been a great example of that. She really has.
Yeah, and Oprah gave her $1 million to say, Gayle, you're my girl. I want you to have $1 million. Now, Gayle has her own thing and making multi-millions, but there was a benefit for Gayle being Gayle, and she was her sidekick, and she was okay with that. And she still understood how to shine where she was.
Yeah.
And support the Oprahs. I was called to be that Traci Lynn I was the leader of it. There were too many people trying to be the leader instead of me, trying to pull me back and pull me down, instead of just saying, listen, you are called to do it. You're gifted to do it. You're anointed to do it. Don't know how long the season's going to last. Let us shine by making sure you do all God has called you to do. Let us support that and uplift that. And in turn, I'm going to be blessed, because I'm going to have a business. I'm going to learn some lessons. I'm going to make some big money. I lived to put $1 million in the hands of my sales force. I wanted somebody to be a millionaire so bad. I had a few of them. I started giving them money. Worst thing I could have ever done. Because they didn't earn it. And guess what they started to say? Well, you gave it to me before. I'm entitled to it now. When you going to give me my money?
Wow. Ooh-wee. So true. So true. I'm glad.
I don't know if you can air all that. But it's true.
It is true. Well, Dr. Lynn, I don't want to hold you too long, but as we are celebrating women making history, as you are one of them, I just have to ask, and I want you to finish the statement for us. To me, a history maker is someone who is
a trailblazer who goes where no one else goes and blazes the trail so that others can follow the path. So
good. Dr. Lynn, you have been a great example of just a woman in, not just a woman in business, but just a business person in general. We thank you so much for your contribution, and we're looking forward to everything that you have coming with the book and all the other great things that I know God has put in your vision. We're looking forward to it. So I want people to check you out on beiconicnow.com, beiconicnow.com. Follow her on Dr. Traci Lynn and stay connected because this woman is on the move and she's got some great things going on. So Dr. Lynn, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. We'll be in touch and I'm here supporting and rooting for you.
I know you are. You always have been. That's why I said we're going to make this thing happen. We will find the time.
This has been the Build on Beauty podcast, where beauty is born skin deep. I'm your host, Cornell Jermaine. Until next time, let your soul be made whole. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Build on Beauty podcast. For more information about our host, please visit cornelljermaine.com.